Thank you so much, everyone. A very good evening to all of you and a big welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on a Friday evening. I know it's the time to let your hair down and uh, and get into the weekend mode. So all the more grateful that you could take out time during your before the weekend starts to spend some time with us for this particular event. Welcome to the EVLOS series, Transforming Tech-First Businesses with Cloud. Now, if you really look at the digital natives and the startups, which is what we are going to be focusing on today, what is it, or rather, what are the problems that today's startups and digital natives are trying to solve? This is what we are going to be focusing on in today's sessions. If you really look at the last 2 years, or rather, even if we go back a little further, we already saw the pace of digitization accelerating and the unprecedented pace of acceleration of the digital transformation journeys of organizations over the last 2 years is unprecedented. And if we really look at the digital natives, for them, digital is the business. So what is it that they really need to look at? Innovation, that is the problem, that is the number one agenda or business challenge that most startups and digital native organizations are trying to solve today. How can they innovate? How can they really stand apart from competition, gain the competitive edge, and at the same time, how do they really scale that innovation while keeping the costs under check? And that is one of the biggest problems that the digital natives are trying to solve for. So how do we really look at solving this problem differently? Now, you already are tech-enabled businesses. So how do you optimize your tech stack? How do you really optimize your digital transformation strategy to ensure that you're able to innovate at scale and be flexible, be agile, be fast, be smart? These are some of the key attributes that are expected of today's organizations. Now, while at the same time, you have to really look at the pressures when it comes to cost, when it comes to being fast in go-to-market strategy, ensuring that with the limited resources that you have at hand, you are able to bring in a new business concept, new business model into the market before your competitors. Now, cloud has become a critical enabler because of its agility, because of the speed, because of the flexibility that it offers. But at the end of the day, how do you ensure that your cloud strategy and your overall digital strategy is optimized to enable the best of the resources that you are putting in? And we are going to be looking at some of these questions in today's session. So welcome once again. And before I step down, I would like to invite Ankit Sinha, Vice President for the Cloud Practice and Consulting at Searce, to deliver his opening note. Thank you, Ankit.
This is actually, in some ways, a debut after quite a long gap of three years. I think this is such a lovely occasion for me to be back with people, wearing shoes after a very long time, wearing trousers and not shorts after a very long time. So thank you so much to all of you being here. If I just like to play a 30 seconds clip, let's see if the sound works. Okay, thank you so much. That was basically one of the programs that we are running with a lot of tech startups, with a lot of digital native companies. It's a very complicated word that we have coined, which is called EVLOS, which is solving differently. And the way that we kind of started to figure out things is that with most organizations right now, the speed of, everybody uses the word innovation, but the speed at which they are trying to get into serious problems that are there in this country, this is what we wanted to ensure, that we can work with a lot of organizations. I am Ankit Sinha. I am representing Sears. We are a cloud, big data and applied AI company, and we are very, very proud and happy to host each one of you here. And I'll try to keep my presentation short. I definitely like to welcome two very special guests, Gurpiyar from Google and Shiva from Attentive AI after me. And then we will have a nice little panel conversation. But there's definitely an opportunity for us also to get to know and meet people during the networking session. I would only like to emphasize what everybody perhaps here is already knowing and everybody doing. Naval on Twitter is now a very famous personality. I think each one of us has been following him. And this was a tweet that caught my attention. Your company may not be in the software business, but eventually your software company will be in your business. And I think we met Chayos here. There's so many organizations that are actually really, really disrupting. And what they need to be able to do is to obviously get the tech plumbing right in a lot of ways, and which is what I would think that we would be talking about. Sears, over the years, has been able to work with thousands upon thousands of companies. In fact, if I have to thank folks like WeWork and all, because the first few customers came where we used to share spaces with them, and we began to solve small little problems for them. And as our organization expanded, our portfolio of customers also grew. From logistics companies and last mile delivery companies like Rapido and PickMe in Sri Lanka, to IoT organizations like BLP, which are creating SaaS software, media organizations like InShot. There are a lot of our existing customers, and I'll not name them, but yeah, you'd meet people like Delivery and all that here. I think what we have been able to do is to really see that how can we take all these battle scars that people acquire over the years, how can we be that one tech startup for every tech startup, in the sense that we can take these lessons, and while you make your custom offerings, while you make your products, while you build great experiences for your clients, we can obviously ensure that we are building on a platform. To do this, we've partnered very, very closely with people like Google Cloud, and Google Cloud has really been that platform for us, where we've kind of kept going deep with the client's journeys, and Google's been investing in multiple data centers, regions in India and abroad, and that is what has brought us to this place here. And we would definitely want to talk about the kind of problems that we solve. But yes, if you were to think and kind of remember Sears for something, it would be that we want to be that tech startup which works with startups to fast track their journeys further. Not just in India, but we've also realized that there are these hubs, Indonesia, Malaysia circle, the Silicon Valley for sure. There is a lot of fintech growth that's happening in the UK London belt as well. So what we have been constantly trying to do is to see that, okay, how do we get the best practices from a Gojek? How do we get the best practices from AirAsia, which is trying to be a super app there? And also, while we try to work here with Paytm, we would obviously like to get the best of engineering knowledge shared across as such. I am going to continue to move really quickly, because I do think that you would want to not just get an introductory presentation, but what's the core for us is that if we distill everything out to three things: cloud, the big data platforms, and use cases for machine learning on the applied AI side. For Rapido, one of the things that they were really, really keen to do is, from very different data centers, when they were trying to get into a cloud, they just wanted to be 100% in a containerized environment, and Kubernetes did become a choice. So naturally, they started pivoting towards Google. and to ensure that we could take them through this entire journey. That is what Sears really started to work with the engineering team, and that's what the CTO of Rapido talked to us. For sure now, you would also know that there were other SaaS offerings that they could use of the on-demand rides and delivery offering from Google, that now they were able to basically bring their platform entirely deeper integration into the Google Maps platform as such. For big data, we know that this has been, let's say, an evolution for everybody. The first few years were largely spent in getting the data pipelines built, getting the data warehouses and data lakes built, and now we are increasingly seeing that machines need to learn, and that is what we have gone into cognitive intelligence services as well. Again, as an organization, I would not be the one who would try to go deep into every vertical, because each SaaS organization, each capability is building their own capability. But we definitely like to ensure that we can fast track those projects. If nothing else, and I'll use the word battle scars again, what we are good at is basically trying to tell people this is not worth achieving because it has been tried already. This is perhaps the last slide, and I know it's a little busy slide. There are lots of Searsians in the room. If probably everybody who's from Sears can also just quickly wave or stand, we would definitely interact with each one of you. Thank you. We'll do that later. Thank you so much. And what we definitely like to ensure is each one of you is going to have a very different requirement, a very different maturity cycle. Every engineering group is different. What every organization's tech team values is quite different. But we do understand that most tech companies today want to hold things tight to themselves. They would like to do things on their own. All they look for is a little bit of a consulting advice or a little bit of a direction. And that's what we are good to be nimble and to be flexible. And I'll stop with that. It starts with getting the basic hygienes right. It then goes on to figuring out what should be the right destination for the next 3 years, 5 years, and migrating things into the destinations that you typically would like. I don't know if there is any other ops word left in our tech circles. I am discovering new ones every day, but everything needs to have an XOps. So yes, automating is definitely, and we've all worked probably and all experienced the differences between slightly aged companies and all organizations that are coming up new, where they love the idea of automating, and that's what is our core strength. You might have heard of things like Chronicle on the security side, which is trying to analyze billions of data points so that you don't have to wait after a security episode has happened. So on the telemetry side, on business intelligence side, and with, let's say, a Mama Earth which is trying to figure out their pricing strategy right for across the country. Again, Sears basically works on ensuring that all those applied AI signals are essentially used for them. Modernizing APIs, modernizing microservices, re-engineering your code bases. I do have one interesting example. Beginning of the pandemic, every edtech had to really pivot their product lines very, very quickly because everything became self-paced, everything went online. Suddenly in 2022, all edtechs now realize there is no audience, there is no parent feels that they should be sending their kids to online courses. And now a lot of them are changing into job portals, a lot of them are changing into different kinds of pivot. And that's where we think that the ability to pivot, the ability to reorient yourself is going to be interesting. And we definitely think we can bring in the right kind of engineering resources, because we've got 1200 plus people right now. We can definitely fast track things. And at the end of it, yes, there are probably not too many CFOs here, but yeah, the business doesn't care about how things will work and how plumbing really gets it right, how technology really gets it right. And I think that that's the final mantra when the technology becomes just invisible. I've heard that phrase that the best user interface is when there is no interface at all. And that's, I think, the vision for us from a technology side as well. I will probably just quickly pause here. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I hope you find this evening interesting. We will be learning a lot from you. We just got a few slides here to kind of set the context, but that's all from my side. This is Ankit again, and lovely to have all of you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ankit, for setting the context. And when I was saying earlier that innovation is one of the biggest, let's say, the enablers for organizations today, and being able to innovate and grow at speed and scale, that is what the mantra is for the organizations today. And to get that right, you have to get the tech foundation right. And that is what is going to be the key driver for most digital natives. So for the next session, I would like to invite Gurpreet Sibia, Head of Customer Engineering Digital Natives Business, Google Cloud, to talk about exactly that: solving for innovation, how to solve some of the toughest problems differently and future-proof your business. Please welcome Gurpreet.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this event. I just realized what am I in this whole setup. So we have an amazing opener, Rohit Sharma with Ankit. Then we have the smash hitter, Shiva with Hardik Pandya. I'm sort of the Dinesh Karthik in between, who's expected to take the singles and the doubles. But it's amazing to be here, amazing to be interacting with all of you. Thank you so much, Sears, Ankit, and the team. You've been an amazing partner for us over these years. My name is Gurpreet Sibia. I head the customer engineering for all of digital natives across India. And the easiest way to define my job role is I'm doing a founder's work without the stock options. Before I start with my agenda, this is something that comes because I work with over 1,300 startups across the country. So this comes from a point of empathy. I think as a society in India, we put a lot of respect on bureaucrats, on government officials, large business houses. But if we did at even 50% of the respect for the founders, the entrepreneurs, people like you in this room, I think we would be the largest startup ecosystem in the world. So with that point, I do request you to give a big round of applause for yourself, for all the people in this room. It is amazing place to be in the digital startup, in the startup ecosystem in India. We are the third largest startup in the world after US and China. And almost every 1 out of every 10th unicorn comes out of this country. I have friends, classmates, colleagues working at really good positions in US and Europe, and they're really suffering from a strong case of FOMO right now. They feel that they're missing out on this revolution. Some of them have come back to be part of the startup ecosystem. There are others that have not come back but are really thinking of that. Coming to the topic, I think I'm gonna very quickly cover just 3 things. What do we hear from our customers? What do they need in the digital native segment? What are the solutions, and how is Google Cloud able to help on that? So these are the large 5 buckets that we hear. Are we the best at understanding and using our data? A recent survey says there is only 24% of organizations that are taking database decisions. Is our technology really state of the art? How am I managing my people in this war for talent? How do I retain? How do I keep the workforce motivated? Security is big. How do I make sure my systems and data are secure? And lastly, a lot of our customers are millennials who are very enabled and educated about sustainability, about what we're doing to the environment. Am I using a cloud that is sustainable? Right? So these are some of the top problems that we hear. And what is the answer? The answer is the transformation cloud. And why we say transformation? Can it be easy? Is it a cloud that is by developers, for developers? How do we work with data? How do we democratize data so that not just a highly skilled analyst, but anybody in the organization can use that data and come to insights? Is it secure? And most importantly these days, is it optimized? Am I getting my money's worth? These are some of the views that Google Cloud has on it. Obviously data, I mentioned is key to all the decisions. There is a lot of focus on open source. People do not no longer want to be tied to proprietary stuff. They want to be able to leverage open source technologies, and Google has been a pioneer on that. How do we encourage more productivity and creativity in the team? And lastly, is it a cloud that I can trust? Probably most of you in this room are aware of these 4 pillars. The 2 that I would really want to highlight on is this focus that we have around industry solutions, so that it is not just tech problems that you're solving, it is business problems that you solve. And at the top is something that we are really proud of at Google, which is our whole practice around site reliability engineering and FinOps. I'll just quickly run through this. Yeah, so what are the common questions that people ask around data? Hey, the first question is, can I analyze data at scale? But that quickly changes into, however, can I do it in real time? Can I do it? So I have multiple places where data is, can I do it at there rather than moving everything to one single place first? And like I mentioned, can anybody do it and not just the data analysts? The other key point I would want to touch on is security. It is the breaches are more common than we think, and Gartner thinks that 95% of the breaches happen due to misconfiguration, which is completely avoidable. Security business for Google has been really picking up for us in the last couple of years. There's a lot of work around workforce, workloads, and workplace security that we are doing. Happy to have those conversations. And lastly, site reliability engineering is how Google has been able to scale at that level. We have more than 9 products that serve 1 billion users a month, and all of this is done with a very small team, purely because of the processes, the tools, the efficiencies that we have built. Everything at Google is a container, and when I say everything, I really mean everything is a container. And all of this, like I mentioned, is done through 4 billion containers per week and just 3,000 engineers. Thank you. With that, I will close, but very, very happy to be here, and I would love to interact and network with all of you over the next hour or so. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Gurpreet. Now, while we have heard from Sear's and Google Cloud perspective, I think it's very important to really get the customer perspective, because ultimately it is the customer who can really take you through their challenges, take you through the business problems that they're trying to solve, and how they're trying to do that with the help of cloud, and how cloud is empowering this journey. So for that, I would like to invite Shiva Dhavan, CEO of Attentive Inc. Shiva is going to talk about what the company is setting itself to solve and how uniquely Sear's and Google Cloud is enabling the company solve that. So please welcome Shiva Dhavan.
Yeah, my name is Shiva Dhavan. So I'm almost 30 years old. I graduated from IIT Delhi in 2015, then worked at ETCIO as a management consultant, and then started out. So it's like the initial 5 minutes is going to be my story, and you know, what am I doing right now. So they mentioned that I'm a customer of Sear's and Google Cloud, but I'll just tell my story and what I'm solving. Inspired by Yoda. So this was back when I was 23, 24 years old. Had anger management issues. Like my anger used to come out on the road. Actually, my wife says that it's the riskiest thing, right? So I like tried working on it, and I was going through. I was watching all these Star Wars movies, and I was really inspired by Yoda. Like, for those who don't know, it's a character in Star Wars who's really calm and composed, and basically is with the Force. So it's really about channelizing the energy in a positive way, and that's how, you know, like I learned that, and I apply it as an entrepreneur. So this is 2017. I was working for ETCIO as a consultant, and I was just, you know, like analyzing a lot of data. You might hear about terms AI, etc., but in 2017, it was all on the Excel. Everything was, you know, I was just loaded with data, and even though it was a great job that, you know, they had come on the campus and they were paying like a great salary, but actually, if you look at the work, it was all really manual. And this was the time when the AI wave was coming in, and uh, I thought that it might be a good idea to start building something in the AI space. I didn't know what exactly, uh, but I knew that it's going to become big because smart people will realize how to save time using AI, and that's when, you know, I was looking at a few industries to start up, and then I came across the geospatial industry, basically like satellites and drones and aeroplanes. Like, they were getting big, and there was a lot of remote sensing data, that's what it's called, being collected, but there was nobody actually working in the AI space to actually analyze all this data using computer vision and other AI technologies. And that's when, you know, again, I didn't know about the application. I just knew that this AI plus geospatial is going to be big, and uh, if we build something here, then it might have a, you know, natural advantage. So I started working, like I built a business, started working as an AI services company. So had no clue about a product, but knew that, you know, if we go with the services approach, we'll definitely find use cases and applications. Worked with uh, so, like, honest opinion, it's hard to do B2B services or SaaS in India. Like, it's really hard. Uh, so we just went to the focused on the North America market. Uh, Worked with a lot of PNC, like property insurance companies. Built AI for them. Bootstrapped the company. Basically, there was no outside investment really. Uh, and we got to about 100 people, and that's when I realized that you know, it's great in terms of the AI services being happening, but uh, I need to build a product. Like, I need to build a SaaS product which can scale really rapidly. And incidentally, in 2019, I came across the landscaping industry in the US. So for most of you, this might not be very intuitive, because like the landscaping industry is actually like $100 billion industry in the US alone. Uh, People are paying businesses to manage their outdoor spaces. Like, for example, Crown Plaza uh, pays like a JLL or somebody to manage their property. Uh, in the US, they pay like landscaping companies to do all that, and it's commercial as well as residential. And I came across this industry, and uh, from a solution point of view, so I was doing like mapping and AI and geospatial, and I just spoke to a couple of landscapers, and they said that, hey, your technology can be really useful here, because uh, it's all really manual in our industry, and we are really uh, so this pick might help. So this is what they used to do before we came into their lives. Like, a lot of them used to do this. Like, so this is called a measuring wheel, and they just measure the site, and they need the measurements, because if they don't have the measurements, they can't build an accurate quote to actually pitch the customer, like how much it will cost to, you know, mow the grass or prune the trees, or, you know, put the fertilizer on the lawn. And this is, again, this might seem unintuitive, but this is huge in the US. And uh, that's when I realized that, so it's about the problem that you're solving. If you're building a business, and if your customers don't have a very big problem, then you need to think again. Like, you can only build a big business if the problem is big. Uh, and except Salesforce, like they just focus on selling and they become big. So that was the sort of the main problem that we set out to solve, and we were already ahead of the curve because we were like we had the solution, like we just had to customize it for the landscaping industry, but it wasn't a big lift, to be honest. 2021 we launched a SaaS product, software as a service, right? And this is like a brief snapshot of what the customer gets. So they enter an address that they want to like bid for or perform or send a quote in for, and they get like all the property features. So beds is this many square feet, then there's the drivable area, and all the basically everything that you can see from the sky. It's all measured. And before us, they never used to get this thing on the left like automatically. They used to either go on the site and do the measuring wheel and everything, or go on Google Earth and basically click around. And so think of it as just clicking around this image and tracing out each and every feature there. And with Attentive, it just became a 3-step process. They used to put in the address and set up the measurement at night, and in the morning they used to get it. What was happening at the back? Search and Google Cloud, that's where they come in, and it all goes on the cloud. It all processes. The processes happen, takes a few minutes or few hours depending on the size of the property, and that basically throws in like a 90% accurate output. And then there is a QA team which basically looks at the output and makes sure that it's 199% correct. But the real key thing is the AI basically does most of the work. And if you think about this application 6 years back, this wouldn't have been possible. Like with AI getting big, with the GPU servers getting commoditized with cloud, that's how it has been like that's how it has become possible. And now we have smarter AI who is able to basically identify lawns and actually tell you the exact square feet and the outline and everything. So that's, and even though I'm from IIT Delhi, I'm not really a techie. So I'm really proud of the team that has been able to achieve it. But if you're an entrepreneur, I think more than the tech, it's about getting the application right. And for us, as soon as we found the landscaping industry, we just went all in. So 2021 we launched, and 2022 is when Sequoia Surge invested in us. So we raised $5 million couple of months back. And the reason why they invested in us is because they saw the growth in 1 year. We have about 140 landscaping companies as customers. Yeah, it's just like a no-brainer sort of product for our customers. And we are the first mover as well. So I always wanted to, crack a space which is less crowded. So yeah, that's my personal personality. Like you can always go after bigger markets with huge market sizes and still build a big business. But landscaping is actually huge, so it was like a sleeping giant, and we found it. AI meeting the humans, right? So I'll just basically give you a sense of how the AI is actually bringing a generational change in terms of the tech, right? So older tech is hard to use, it's time consuming, and now AI is actually just doing making it a lot of it very easy, like it's quick and easy to use. So I think if you want to succeed in life, you should be always thinking about how you can save time. I think time is the most precious commodity, and AI is the biggest enabler of saving time, because it'll really just basically give you the insights that you want, and then allow you to focus more on the decision making. And that's how you should think. Like the decisions are the key, not basically bragging about, hey, we did a fire drill over the weekend and we concluded this, right? It's not like it won't really make you succeed. uh, and and like I think we were talking about this earlier as well, like we are moving from a culture of fire drills and like forced fire drills to, you know, like smart and like smart working and smart work. So AI will only assist something like this. Elephant in the room, if anybody thinks that AI is a threat to jobs, again going back to just like the, I don't think that's the right way to think about it, uh, because like the tech is always evolving. Like 20 years down the line, what we'll have, what we'll see, what our kids will be doing and using, we don't know that. It's all exponential. And but there are like newer job profiles being created, there are newer industries opening up, and I think that's the positive way to look at it. If you are in a space, or if you are in a job profile that you think might be relevant because of the AI coming in, then it'll be best to basically upskill yourself rather than worrying about, hey, I might lose my job or I might be like less relevant, because that's not a positive attitude, and it's here to stay. Like the biggest of the biggest companies are investing in it, and uh, like nobody should think of it as a threat because it's just here to stay. Yeah, that's mostly it. Is there a Q&A, or I can just like, is it just...
So from your perspective, when you get into something like this and you crack a market, is there more technology that you need to develop and kind of do vertical integration of things, or you crack the product, now you just keep expanding business wise? What comes next after this kind of, when you hit this kind of a product market fit?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's a saying that SaaS is going to eat the world, and then there's another saying which is like vertical SaaS is going to eat B2B software. So what's vertical SaaS? Vertical SaaS is highly specialized software for specific industries, and that's where the world is going. Like so now that we have cracked one product for the landscaping industry and the outdoor services industry, we are just building the whole end-to-end software for them, because that's more sticky. You can basically get more out of the companies, and I think the stickiness is the biggest thing. Like everything is happening on one software and they can't switch, they can't go to an alternate. And if you look at the all the SaaS companies, right, over the past 20 years, the ones who have truly survived or have done well are the ones who have built more products. So you really can't stop, like uh, otherwise you'll die. So just keep building, like you companies will need to invest in tech, keep building new things, keep building new offerings, keep improving the existing offerings. Can't be a one product company. You'll just die.
Once a customer has used the product and they've done the mapping, then what's the next step in the journey? And is your AI now, are you further compared to your competitors in terms of finding other use cases? Will this help you in solving, let's say, traffic related problems if you have those customers? So what's the repeat business in your scenario?
So yeah, so firstly, this itself is a repeat business. So we have an annual recurring revenue on the measurement bit. So it's called a sales automation software, and their sales team needs to bid on properties every year. So they need to measure new properties every year because there's a natural churn that happens, and it's not like, and they also need to remeasure their existing properties. So that's the annual recurring component there. In terms of finding other use cases, it's just the workflow, right? The business workflow. So measurement happens, then a estimate happens, that's the dollar, then a quote happens, then the quote gets accepted, then a work ticket happens. This work ticket is then given to the operations team. They go on the site, execute the job, and they also have like a crew app which does the routing and everything for them. And then the upsells happen and like this entire workflow. And then there is a central team who's looking at the top line, the bottom line, and the dashboard. So there is sales, there is operations, and then there is business management. Any business that you're targeting, if you're building a vertical SaaS business, that's the way to think about it. Look at their team, look at their workflows, and just build solutions for them. Great, awesome. Thanks guys.
Thank you, Shiva. So it's time now to move on to a very interactive panel discussion. So Shiva shared his experiences and how he solved for the business problems. Now we're going to hear from other practitioners as well as to how they are transforming their businesses with cloud and how cloud is powering them to innovate and solve for the business challenges that they have. So please join me in welcoming our panelists. I would like to invite Mr. Raj Khosla, founder and managing director, My Money Mantra. Mr. Ayush Goyal, co-founder, Kosh. Mr. Manish Saini, CEO, e-commerce for Ferns and Petals. Mr. Ankit Roy, co-founder and CTO at Khabri Audio Private Limited. Mr. Mohit Malik, CTO at Chayos. And I would like to invite Gurpreet and Ankit back on the stage for the panel as well. Thank you so much. Great. So I think Ankit and Gurpreet, you already heard from Shiva, but I'm sure you also want to hear from other tech startups as to how they are powering their businesses and innovations with cloud. And of course, it's also technologies like AI, applied AI, analytics, how some of these technologies are empowering organizations. So with that, I would like to first start with Mr. Raj Khosla. Now, if you can tell us briefly about Money Mantra's journey of creating a one-stop destination for loans and credit cards, and how did cloud help you power this journey, and what was the biggest challenge that you had to address?
Our biggest challenge actually was associated with identifying the ingredients for a one-stop destination for customers and churn the corresponding data. So what we believe we have the right mix of ingredients to further scale up from here. Additionally, we are into an ever-changing, as everyone knows, an ever-changing ecosystem where our banking partners evolve and accept changes due to what has happened in terms of the pandemic and also the fast-changing regulatory environment. So all of that is really what has been our biggest challenge in terms of how cloud has empowered our business. Well, actually, at 2020 February was the last complete month before the lockdown. Yeah, and a few months before that, we have taken on AWS, and migrated all our 5 crore data onto a cloud. And our analytics team, etc., was fully sort of operational. And then the Black Swan event happened, and just like every huge and horrible cloud, every cloud has a silver lining, and we sort of accelerated all our efforts around cloud. And I think we've been able to, as a business, achieve scale and flexibility, which reduced and a much reduced TAT, which is turnaround time, if you like, and a go-to-market, for new product launches. And that there are so many fintech apps, and Kosh being one, and how they are, how new business opportunities are coming up. So we need to have, speed to get to market. The cloud has really empowered our business to achieve scale and flexibility, reduced our turnaround time for go-to-market and new product launches.
of new product launches are plentiful, in today's time and age, because so many bright people, some of whom are in the room, they come up with new apps and new products. And that's, we need an improved customer experience, giving timely feedback. All customers want, from our perspective, in terms of loans, credit cards, and other credit instruments like gold loans or two-wheeler loans, they need to get feedback really quickly. And I think cloud services really help, our customers at each stage of their application, their journey, and so on and so forth. Business continuity, again, supporting business teams remotely during COVID was a big one for us. And like I was telling some of our friends that February 20 being the last complete month of our, before the lockdowns hit us, now we are 20% less in our employee headcount and 4 times the turnover. And I think that, without having cloud technology and all our data on it, and then the analytics to back up for it, this would never have happened. So, it's, I think I'm twice the age of anyone else here, in the room. And 32 years, most people haven't done this business for 2 or 3 years. I've run my business for 32 years, started with paid up capital of 1,000 rupees. And we got here in the end, by hook or by crook, mostly, But I tell you, the toughest thing about getting to a point like this is the human element. We talk about cloud, ma'am, and we are all here to talk about the other items, that integrations, how our business is driven by API integrations with the lending partners. The movement to cloud has enabled us to integrate APIs at a much faster rate. Security, which is a big deal these days. A cloud has provided the secured platforms with privacy first approach for all. Also, data insights and analytics. Our data analytics team is able to leverage cloud to run data-driven models, which help our marketing teams to run profitable, important thing from my perspective, profitable targeted campaigns. Like I said, running a business with 1,000 rupees of paid up capital, unless you produce profits, you'll die in about 2.5 seconds, right? So, and the toughest thing, the absolutely toughest thing, is to convince, or to teach an old dog new tricks. That is really the toughest things, and talk about doing that, for literally thousands of people which we employ, is the toughest challenge, and cloud has helped us even there. Because you can put on training modules, you have to coax people. No one listens to, how much can you beat up someone to say this is good for you? He's not going to take the medicine until he actually believes it's going to cure the, whatever ailment that he's suffering from. So same is true for adoption of cloud technologies and so on. And although I'm not a techie, clearly, but I'm a user of technology, and I know how to leverage that into a bottom line in addition to creating a top line. But top line only, again, is not going to get you any, too far. I don't know if I answered the question.
You did, and when you said that you're not a techie, but I think that's clearly what technology is about, to solving the business problems, the business challenges, and you really talked about that. So thank you so much for taking us through your journey.
Thanks.
And you wanted to say something, Ankit?
Yeah. So I thought that the panel discussion will last 45 odd minutes, but I think Sir has covered it. So I don't know if any of us is going to be able to add on top of it, but very interesting story. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Ankit. Thank you.
And I think even if you are a techie, I think every techie today needs to solve for the business challenges. So whether whether you are a techie or not a techie, I think business challenge or business vision rather is the number one thing from where your tech strategy also flows down. So Ayush, we are seeing a lot of innovation in the fintech space over the last 2 years. We have seen that is where a lot of new business model reinvention is happening. So and as your tagline goes, Kosh aims to simplify finance for Bharat. That is what you've been saying. So how did cloud help you get to where you are, and how did it enable you to deliver the best outcomes? And what is that one business or rather technology problem today that you're trying to look for solving through cloud?
Yeah.
So I think for us, like I am a techie, right? So for us, basically, we were sort of born in the cloud era, right? So cloud was the obvious choice, and I actually have to think of or rather be surprised by the level of complexity that people before us have had to deal with. So it's actually been quite easy for us. And when I say easy, I think like personally, we've had a very iterative journey. So we've, banged our heads against the wall and, waited for something to stick, right? And that's rough. And what cloud has really enabled us to do is given us the velocity to iterate very, very quickly. And, once we see that something is working, it also allows us to scale, with the same framework, roughly the same framework, right? So, uh, I think that has been, essentially the bedrock of, startups in the world today, right? So you can iterate quickly, and then you can also scale quickly, and that's something that is, that has never been possible, before today. So I think that's essentially also the approach that we take in terms of defining business objectives. So simplification can be measured with data, right? So for example, the number of clicks that a user makes to actually complete a loan application, and there are basically a metric that you can define for everything, and that's really what the cloud journey has been about us, for us. So we are very, very data driven in terms of building our funnels, ensuring that our approval rates are appropriate, etc. Right? So I think that you know has only been possible because of cloud. But I'll not be able to compare. We've not had that transformation journey from pre-cloud to post-cloud, but I can talk about that it's been relatively easy for us.
So while it is true that the digital natives rather don't have the legacy burden, which but they have other challenges. While you do not have to deal with the legacy, but how do you really optimize your tech stack? How do you ensure that you optimize your cloud, your cloud experience that itself is very relevant, and how do you ensure that you use AI, ML technologies like analytics to really maximize the transformation. And when you talk of iterative being, it helps you, iterate quickly. And what Ankit also mentioned in his presentation about being able to pivot, I think that's very important and very, key for businesses today, because being able to pivot, because customer preferences keep changing, they're very dynamic and they're changing. Uh, Today almost on a hourly basis, or very quickly. So Manish, you have been with Ferns and Petals, and of course the company has been around for a long time, so you have seen how the customer preferences keep changing. And then the company has grown in leaps and bounds to become one of the leading gifting portals of the country. So how different is your vision and approach today from when it started? Because of course customer preferences have changed, the business dynamics have changed, and how is cloud helping you fulfill the vision that you have for the company going forward?
Sure. So I'll start with a very brief introduction of what we are, who we are. We are a multi-category, multi-country, multi-shipping option available gifting company. When I say, and multi-currency also, multilingual also, right? So we traditionally, earlier we were florist, okay, a hardcore retailer, and then we morphed into a omni-channel offline online business, and from one category to we expanded into multiple categories, from flower to cake to hampers to plants to personalized to so and so forth, right? And within those categories there's always ever changing customer behavior and need. And then we expanded into multiple geographies, Southeast Asia, Middle East, US, Canada, and so on and so forth. And on the service side, how we have evolved the business is By the way, we were the pioneers in terms of hyperlocal deliveries, right? We started hyperlocal deliveries way back in 2002, and so that landscape is also changing very, very fast. Now you have a delivery in 10 minutes, quick commerce. We were doing same day deliveries earlier, right? So there's a constant, I would say, threat slash opportunity slash challenge slash whatever that's happening on day to day. So, and that's exactly how our challenges, our opportunities are moving towards that. So if you look at, for example, product side, the priorities are changing from value for money to more experience, more premiumization, and all of that, right? And it has to be very, very quick. It has to be very, very agile. So if I give you an example, within the personalized category, there will be a time when people would prefer a certain type of mug, and then there will be a new type of mug, which is, let's say, in the form of camera or coffee mug or something else, right? That would come up. And on the front end, you have to optimize your entire front end experience to be able to personalize that new design, right? Or it could be a new photo frame, or it could be a new kitchenware, or so and so forth, right? So how quickly you can deliver that experience from the go to market perspective on the front end, and how quickly can you adopt new payment option, or buy now pay later, or UPI, and so on and so forth in the entire consumer journey, right? And on the service front, like I said, that we have multiple delivery options. There is a quick commerce hand delivery option available, then there's a courier delivery option available, then there is a cross-border international delivery option available, and so on and so forth, right? To give you an example of the challenges, or rather it was very, very, on the supply chain side or on the delivery side, we were not really challenged or threatened. But what COVID has done is there was a lot of optimization that we were doing in the real time in terms of what city to enable, what shipping option to be enabled in what city on what day of the week, and because of the lockdowns were also not very, very consistent, right? So this is how COVID and the ever changing environment has kept us on toes in terms of optimizing and everything. Coming back to how cloud is helping us is that from the optimization perspective, we are taking segregate and consolidate approach. So we are taking up one part of the application, breaking it down to a level where we can really optimize, and then be very agile in terms of changing it quickly. And at the same time, because we are a multi-category and multi-geography business, we are also consolidating the overall application, right? So how can one application or one feature can get rolled out to multiple geographies at the same time, right? And if you look at from the scalability point of view, auto scaling point of view, the spikes are different than in Singapore as opposed to UAE, right, of the occasion. So how quickly can you scale it up? How quickly can you really change? And for example, Rakhi as an occasion, there's a particular type of non-perishable gifting that does well. So that part of application, how quickly can you evolve and scale up as opposed to the hand delivery or flower or a hamper perishable category, right? So cloud allows us to be very agile, very flexible, optimize, segregate, break it down. And the fact that there are so many services available on the AI or otherwise also compute, storage, etc., it helps us do go to market faster and be absolutely on our toes and pronto. Yeah.
So I think speed and scale essentially are how you are leveraging cloud to grow in the market. And Mohit, I want to bring you into the conversation here, because Chios has really kind of grown at a phenomenal speed, and therefore I think speed and scale are equally important in your business. So if you can tell us about how you are strategizing, how you are leveraging cloud to power that growth for your company.
See, we are in a chai space, as in this is a new category, as in there had been coffee chains traditionally for many years now. We are building a category. Now, if you look at just chai as a product, you will not go that far. Why? Because at the end of the day, you are selling a commodity product at a higher price. So people need to see value out there. So for us, it's not chai which is a product, it's the cafe and the experience which is a product for us. That means, when you have to deliver that, you have to deliver and deliver the same consistent experience at scale. You have to think differently and out of box. So, just to give you an example from where we started was that we used to have our menus as handheld menus being given out into the cafes, let's say 7-8 years back, to now we are talking about that as soon as a customer walks into the cafe and he looks at the display screen on top of overhead menu and he punches his phone number to sign in the loyalty program, the menu changes. And it is changes and personalized for your experience. So that's a transformation. Now with the option of technology in the last 5 to 7 years, people have got a sense of, as in they expect us to personalize the experience for them. The biggest and the possible experience that any personalized, I would say, product would give is the e-commerce. You open an app and you have that experience on for you, just customized the way you want it to be. And with things like, you may also like, or this is what you last ordered, and all those things. These are very, I would say now it is easy to be built on online in an online space. But when you get into an offline space, it is very difficult. As a company, our USP is Meri Wali Chai. That means you tell us what kind of a chai you need and we'll make it for you. Now, making a chai in 80,000 different ways, we can go wrong like a gazillion times. Every time we make a cup of chai, we can go wrong. Now, this is not what we promise to the customers. You need consistency, you need accuracy, you need what you have paid for every time consistently. So we invested in IoT, we built out our automated tea brewing machines, we call them as chai monks. Now, if you look at a customer journey within Chai's Cafe, it's a very personalized journey. You get into the cafe, you sign up for a loyalty program, the loyalty program is customized for you, you have various payment options, you have closed wallets. We even partnered with a cloud partner, and we built a 15 seconds checkout process. It is like you walk into the cafe, we just say accept, your face is recognized through your consent, we know who you are signed into the loyalty program already, we have your money in the wallet, and we show you the last order, and this is a repeat business, right? You will not change your chai flavor every day. You come in and you just say click, and everything is done. Your chai is being ordered and the machine starts to make the chai. And all of this is automated. So now what happens is, with this all enablement, the people at the cafe now can focus on customer. They can focus on the kind of experience that they want to give to the customer, provide the service that the actual customer has come in for, because the product part is now already been automated and taken care of. So that has been a digital transformation for us. It took us 7 years to get to where we are. And then personalization is now going to the next level. You are seeing the meta world is coming in. There's a lot of adoption of technology happening, not in India but outside in the meta space, and that's an experience. That's an experience in itself. And if not now, at least 5 years down the line, people in India would expect you to provide that kind of an experience. So, we always say that, whatever was sci-fi 30 years back is now a reality. And whatever is sci-fi today will be reality, let's say 10 years down the line. So we have to basically, cope up with that. So meta, blockchain are the next things that we are working on and we are building into. And data sits at the core of it. For us, it's the personalized customer experience that we need to give, and all of it is driven by data. So, from taking a pen drive and going to the cafes and putting the menus to today, just on a click of a button, changing the entire personalized experience into the cafe without, and doing all of them remotely, and then personalizing our experiences, our products and everything. This is the digital transformation that, that cloud has enabled for us.
Great. So I think speed, scale, and personalization, I think these three areas that we have hit upon till now in our conversation are being enabled by cloud. So, Ankit, Khabri again is India's fastest growing vernacular audio platform, which renders immense ease at both creating and consuming the content. So, what was the biggest challenge that you had to face in realizing the vision behind this revolutionary concept that you brought in, and how is cloud helping you address that?
Yep. So for me, cloud worked as a magic, and like being a pre-revenue company, when you go out to the market for raising funds, they ask for scale, right? So to bring in this scale, we cannot just create one or two features and then scale happens in B2C, especially in the market where we were dealing with. So they were looking for a great experience. So what happened was, like, we were able to deliver the great experience where stickiness was really good. Like, we reached to 40% month one retention in tier 2 3 market, where like people very very volatile, and we gave that stability at scale with just 4 engineers, and that happened just because of heavy use of cloud services and automation. So we experimented a lot with cloud services. Like, initially we started with virtual machine, then we tried out virtual machine skill sets, and then we went to Kubernetes. We tried out like machine learning services as well there. So, but it was very costly, so we had to bounce back, and then we used practically all managed services which were important for us. Like search, it was big one, and queue services. We processed data heavily on a hourly basis, because in media, like, you get a lot of data. So, and that needs to be processed on a hourly basis to give the real-time social numbers. For example, we have seen your views on YouTube. We have listens on Khabri. So that was a very difficult problem to solve, and that happened because we were able to process data. We could completely rely on the queue services and consume and we if we used PubSub basically to process those data on a near real-time basis, and so that's how magic happened with just 4 engineers, and that's what my experience was with the cloud, and I understood how to use cloud to scale with less investment.
So, and I think resources is one of the biggest challenges for startups, and that is where cloud comes into the picture, where you can achieve that speed, scale, and personalization with limited resources. So, Gurpreet, I want to bring you into the conversation here, because Google Cloud has been playing a pivotal role when it comes to these aspects that we spoke about: speed, scale, personalization, agility, being able to scale fast. So, if you can tell us about your observations about digital natives successfully navigating their journey of constant digital reinvention with the help of cloud.
Sure. Thank you. See, I think this is a very broad topic, but I'll try and touch on 2 or 3 observations that I have. I obviously get to work with very large multi-billion unicorns to very early stage startups as well. And I think some of the panelists touched on this already. I think for me, one key decision is build versus buy. I think especially founders who are extremely technical, and every startup is very proud of the technical skills and the talent that they have. It is a key decision. A lot of stuff that was novelty, let's say even a couple of years ago, is now commoditized. It is easily available. I think Ankit mentioned a few managed services. So if it is fundamental and core to your market differentiation and what is the essence of your startup, I think it makes sense to have control over it. But then do not go overboard with try and build everything. You should leverage what already exists on a cloud, on a marketplace, and just use the time and energy for something else. The second point is, I think I heard that mentioned quite a lot. When you're an early startup, I think we're very proud of firefighting, and we're very proud of something that used to be, I'm old enough to say, something that used to be a negative 20 years ago in the enterprise world. We are extremely proud of it now that, hey, we take decisions on the fly, we are always firefighting, we are always problem solving. I think when you scale, that becomes a challenge, and there has to be a planning and a roadmap in place. So that is where the decision that you take in terms of your cloud provider or multiple cloud providers is key. Are you just getting VMs and storage and databases, or are you getting best practices? Are you getting industry know-how? Are you getting a partnership that will keep you on track? And how do you prioritize that roadmap? And lastly, I think a lot of you would be surprised by this. One of the most common sessions that I do for my customers is not tech. It's their interest in knowing about Google culture. How do you, at that scale and that level of innovation, keep your employees motivated? How does innovation not become a burden and they're still able to cherish? Or otherwise, it's so stressful to come into office every day and think, I have to innovate. I better innovate before I go home, right? So I think building that culture long term, having the right balance between delivering really fast, changing market, changing everything, and yet give people space and mental peace to do innovation. I think those are 2 or 3 things that really stand out in the long term.
What you mentioned, very interesting, that innovation doesn't become a burden. It's not like it's a talwar sar pe latki hui hai ki you have to innovate. And that is where I think fail fast, and that has come into the picture, because companies expect that even if you fail, you should be able to innovate, fail, and then learn from it and move fast. And that is where cloud, I think, becomes a big enabler for innovation for organizations. So Ankit, you spoke about solving differently. So and you spoke about that earlier in your presentation as well. So with Sears carving its own niche, how do you think solving differently has become a huge part of your identity as an organization?
So before answering, I'd like to take a little detour. I think I'll do a little bit of Chayos promotion. I think Google solves for innovation by having a huge Chayos stall in their office terrace. तो उसी से सारा फिर tension, nervousness खत्म हो जाती है. You can thank me later. Yes, I think coming back to the point that what we have realized is that, and I think Shiva mentioned this very clearly, that time has become the essence, obviously for their customers, but for every person as well who's trying to run their startups, who's trying to scale their startups. So it's great technology is definitely available today. Since I am a little older than Ayush and Ankit, मैं उसमें भी थोड़ा सा detour लूँगा जल्दी से. That yeah, before cloud came, I used to work for a hardware company. Customers used to place an order on one server. We used to take 3 months to get it from Ireland. 2 महीने वो customs duty में अटका रहता था. उसके बाद पहले दिन एप्लीकेशन लाइव होती थी, द सर्वर यूज्ड टू क्रैश, देन वी यूज्ड टू से ओके एक और सर्वर खरीद लो आप, एंड दैट इज हाउ वी यूज्ड टू वर्क अर्लियर. नाउ पीपल आर नॉट हैप्पी विद द स्टार्टअप टाइम्स ऑफ क्लाउड फंक्शंस, whether it's 3 milliseconds or 7 milliseconds. Yes, what we have definitely tried to do for our companies is that you share experiences, and this is what I said, that if you have to fail fast, how do you get the minimum viable product ready? Now that's obviously a very well understood concept across the industry. With Google, then we also started to learn that there is a minimum viable model for machine learning that's need to be built, because otherwise everybody starts on this fancy journey that हम AI बनाएंगे और AI दुनिया change करेगा. But that minimum viable model, and in big data solutions, it is difficult because you need to be able to get those things right. So I guess what's obviously happening, and this is happening in a very big way, is now people have understood that open source is the mantra for almost every new digital tech startup. So they like to share things. Everybody posts their stuff on GitHub. We also get our clients to do that. We are seeing those synergies being built in India. And I think that's what the Bangalore community is good for. That's what the Gurgaon community is really great for. And if we can be part of those hubs and we can facilitate these sessions a lot more, great ideas obviously come out of it. So for me at Sears, yes, 3,000 startups, all that have gone on their journeys for the last 10, 12 years, we typically try to catalog and get the best, just the best practices if we can share. I think we have contributed our bit to the world. Thank you.
So it's essentially the companies then don't have to reinvent the wheel. So you have the best practices, you have the minimum viable product models available, so that companies don't have to go back and reinvent the same wheel again and again. And that is where, again, I think speed and scale become critical. Yes. Yes, sure, please.
Ankit, just I don't know if if a company or me, if for instance our data lake is on AWS and it's 5 crores individual customers collected over the past 32 years. If we needed solutions, when you say open source, so it may not be the smartest question you've taken all evening, right? Okay, but from a user, can I get some solutions from Google as well, or do I have to stay with in that family only? I cannot.
I think everybody will have an answer here. My answer is no. Today we are living in a world where actually there is abundance of choice.
Yeah.
And the choosing the right tool is probably the bigger burden, because one is 95% good and the other is 98% good. And there's always a trade-off between performance, relevance, costs. And so that fatigue definitely comes in the decision making. But I think everybody in the panel will say now that they all are living in where they are not locked onto technology. They are definitely able to explore any given plug and play product at any point of time.
So the short answer is yes.
Yes.
Thanks.
I think
I'll add to what Ankit said, that for us, when we were doing that facial recognition thing, we tried this in 2016 also, and we failed miserably because we were building it ourselves. But when or this image analytics and all became as a commodity, I would say, and was available as a service, we were able to roll it out in 10 days of time. And it works really well. So yes, those companies like Google and Amazon would actually build those services for you, because these guys have done it, they have done it at scale. And we, as I would say, business runners, the ops, the other businesses should actually focus on just the application part of it, because that's where the value that these guys have created would actually be shown. And I have at least 10 examples where we have been able to use services off the shelf and been able to build products out of it, and it works. It really works.
So you can learn from their experiences. They've already gone through. Good.
Yeah, I was preparing a sales pitch really hard for Google Cloud, but I think when customers share, it is a lot more credible. So I think my job is done.
That's true. So I think we are in a multi-cloud world today. So just to add to what Mr. Khosla asked, so we are seeing organizations preferring different multiple clouds in their environment. They don't want to lock into just one cloud service provider. They prefer. So it depends on different companies. They may have different business models, but I think companies are going for multiple cloud. So to that, I also want to ask you a question in terms of you spoke about your how you are leveraging cloud. So now the business landscape is continuously evolving, and especially in your sector. So what do you see as the top technology trends that are impacting your business, that you see impacting your business going forward?
Well, I don't want to sound cliched, but honestly, datafication and data fabric. So in our space, transforming, do it yourself journeys which are powered by data, leveraging data to identity identify the right customer at the right time, data analysis to reduce the turnaround times for customers, providing the data availability at the right place regardless of where it lives. Okay. Example, basically we've seen a lot of players claiming to do paperless lending. But during the first COVID lockdown, lenders and aggregating platforms were not able to lend as no one had the technology to do paperless lending. People are talking about it. It was fashionable to talk about it. They weren't able to implement it. And I can speak to that from my own personal experience. So huge effort has gone into creating such do-it-yourself journeys by all partners since then, happily so for all of us. Now there are a large number of partners who are doing paperless lending. I'm sure, my friend here is one of them, Yes. This was possible because of the datafication and data fabric. The next item, of course, would be, again, a little bit cliched, would be AI and machine learning. So customer engagement based on decisioning intelligence, propensity, recommendation engine, and personalization. That for us, we are such a, I would like to say that, I was going to say we are such a retail business, but looking at our friend here, selling cups of tea is even more retail than what I do, buddy. So the more retail you get, the tougher is the business, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
So, salam saab, as far as the toughness is concerned, right? So, so as every customer is unique, has a unique need and a unique profile, what you were discussing just like 10 minutes ago, in terms of what kind of tea he wants. But same thing, as far as loans is concerned, credit customer has a unique requirement. So, unique profile, hence personalization and data-driven recommendation engine is going to be the most important technology trend within our space, which would have a huge business impact. Because speed, Ankit said about 3 nanoseconds or 7 milliseconds as far as speed is concerned. Same is true for customer experiences, on the financial services side. Somebody needs money, somebody needs a personal loan. Some of the younger friends here might want to take somebody out for a date, so he needs $5,000. He needs it like as in the next half an hour, in the next 15 minutes. He doesn't need an application which is going to get to him the following day or after 3 days. So that's the, the speed with which we are going to, is going to have a huge business impact. Looking ahead a little bit, like again, sorry, third time I'm referring to you, my dear. Yeah, in terms of what was sci-fi 5 years ago is today's reality, and what is today's sci-fi is going to be tomorrow's reality. Same thing, I suppose fundamentals of life remains the same. So same thing, as far as the robotic process automation is concerned, enabling RPA to automate the business processes.
Definitely required.
Right? Processing transactions, interpreting customer applications, requests, and what he might have. All of that is going to be, it may be here faster than we imagine. So, I guess we all need to prepare for it. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you did. And when we're talking of data, you spoke about data, and that's very relevant because data is really at the core of understanding your customer. And we spoke about how the customer behavior is changing and how do you understand your customer. I think data is where it all, it all ends up, that's where the key is. And today the customers are very picky and choosy. And like you said, if you're not able to meet their expectations, they have multiple options available, multiple choices available to move on. So I think you need to bring in that differentiation, and that differentiation is going to come by understanding your customer better, which boils down to data. So Ayush, you heard Mr. Kosa talk about it, and what do you see, or rather, what would you predict as some of the most interesting trends that are going to be impacting the fintech industry, and how are you as a company preparing for these tech trends?
So I think personally, what I think like a few people on the panel also touched about this earlier, and specifically I think Ankit, that it's basically always a build versus buy decision, right? So so we have to be careful about what we spend our energy on, with the limited resources that we have in the early stage, right? So it's not always wise to, build everything, because, you'll, there's a chance that you might not actually get to the end result, and B, you may have already spent too many resources, that, you can't, justify the cost of doing that. So I think we're seeing a lot of infrastructure plays happening in this space, like specifically in fintech, because there's a huge regulatory burden that, comes with the space. So I think like that's why, for fintech specifically, there is, a lot of merit in actually buying products off the shelf, because it eases your burden, and you can really focus on the differentiation in your business, and that's what basically makes like a large business, I think. And I think like Shiva also briefly touched on this point that verticalization is happening in the industry, and you now have people who are especially in lending, right? Like you have people who lend for education, for home loans, for personal loans, and I could probably name 20 other categories, but I think like that is that is itself driven by the efficiency that and the scale that digital businesses are capable of. So it's just that's how it's going to play out, and it's best to specialize and buy whatever you can. I think that's how we think about this.
Right. Manish, so what do you see as your technology strategy to grow from where you are now? You've already achieved a certain scale, and and to go further from there, what is your tech strategy, and how do you see cloud powering this next phase of growth for your company?
So I also would agree with Mr. Khosla that personalization is what is also, in my previous answer that I said that we are moving more towards premiumization, personalization, and value for money, and improving the customer experience also comes from the fact that how personalized solutions you're giving. And for example, if somebody has ordered something for a birthday of somebody at certain product, this time you have to recommend something else. You don't want to repeat the same product, that 10 flower bouquet or 10 roses bunch, right? And that's how it is. And as far as technology is concerned, we are going, like I said, that we are breaking down the modules into more microservices, micro front ends, and enabling different parts of the application to go faster. One example I will also quote, the Rakhi example that I was quoting you, is that we have to see how and where do we scale our application. During one particular occasion, there is certain type of surge or load on the application that would come up. For example, for a Rakhi, this would be more like a courier based data processing that would happen, that would require customer or to see what are the dates available, what are the cities available. And however, on an occasion like Valentine's Day, they would want to see what kind of perishable product is available in what city, what shipping option, and so on and so forth. What time of the day is the product available for a midnight delivery, and what product is available for morning hour delivery, right? So we are constantly improving those kind of corner cases, or deep diving into different level of personalization, real time information, and how real time or accurate your inventory level, or your availability of the product, availability of the service you can optimize for the entire geography or the customer segment, right? That's how it's.
So I think better optimization and personalization is going to be your your strategy going forward. Great. Ankit, from an infrastructure and solutioning perspective, how are you building an IT architecture that can adapt to a fast-moving environment? Because what we have realized today, that the business dynamics are changing at the at a phenomenal speed. What was relevant maybe yesterday is not relevant today. So how are you building an IT architecture that can adapt to this fast-moving environment?
Okay. So when it comes to tech solutions, mostly there are patterns you will find in problems. So for example, pub sub is one problem, publish subscribe, and queue services are one problem. So how we define architectures, like we follow system design principles to define architecture at a global level, and then we break down to a level where we understand where we need which services to be integrated properly to make things work seamlessly. And that's how we start with, and then we follow the same principle, and strong monitoring is required when it comes to scale. Otherwise we don't realize where the challenges are, and then chaos happens on production if we don't monitor properly. So monitoring is we do heavily, and we as soon as we realize the challenges, so we like make necessary corrections on a real-time basis. So that's how we plan our strategy. And like there are a couple of basic fundamentals which like scalable platform has to follow, where microservices is must. Like without microservices nothing can be scaled. Even if you are deploying all the microservices on the same machine, but then also like microservices is important. Then queue services for processing heavy data, like if some data needs to be processed on every 15 minutes or every minute, then needs to be moved through queue services. And then we have caching, heavily using caching. Wherever you see there is a repeat usage of data, we use caching architecture in place. And sometimes it can be optimized to a multi-level caching as well, depending on the solution we work on. So these are the a few fundamentals can be followed to strategize IT in order to scale or in order to build scalable models.
Mohit, you spoke about some of the cutting edge technologies that are coming in. One thing is that we have a lot of cutting edge technologies available, but companies are not always able to maximize the potential of these cutting edge technologies, or maximize the transformational impact that these technologies can have on business. So what are some of the do's and don'ts that you would like to suggest to startups and digital natives? How do they maximize the impact of these cutting edge technologies?
So see, for us, choice of technology or what we build has always been an ROI driven approach. And we do that calculation every time we invest into anything. And over a period of I would say last 3 years, what we have got into is and I have multiple examples of that, is that it's not always wise to repeat the same things that others have done. Just pick up those things, build from where they have left, and build an application on top of it. So for me as an engineer, my core expertise is in application development. It's not system development. So if systems are already built, just leverage those systems to build applications on top of it. So the advice would be that think about that there's a problem that has already been solved. It has been solved for some use case. It has not been solved for your use case. So start from where it has been solved and just build on top of it. And so that's a principle that I have started to follow. And for instance, I'll just give an example for just an idea for you guys also, that as technologists and developers, when we are coding, we find some error or some bug in and the application tells us that this is what your error looks like. Now Google knows what error solution is, right? And if you are out there, I don't even have to go to the Google page to be able to search for it and then figure out a solution. Why not just tell me this is how you solve it? Now it's taking it to the next level. How much time do you actually save on figuring out what is the right solution, because you already have put a check mark on which is the right search. You have already put down, within that you have already put down a check mark on, you know, what is the exact solution. Why not just show it over there? So, you know, that's again, from a developer's point of view, that's an application of what Google search can go to the next level for us, you know, and you have solved it for us. Just make it easier for us.
I think Shiva will make a unicorn out of it now.
Yeah. and similarly, our customers, you know, they have an expectation that, you know, the things should be available at arm's length of desire. With quick commerce, you know, people started to get groceries within 10 minutes. Now people expect, give me freshly prepared chai in 10 minutes. And we did a pilot with, you know, with Zomato, and, you know, the pilot has been real successful. Well, now we are serving freshly brewed cup of chai made from Chaios cafes to homes in less than 10 minutes. Now this is, you know, this is what the cutting edge technology brings in. And we have not started from scratch. We have started from where, let's say, a Blinkit or a quick commerce company has left. And, you know, we just started from there, and it took us probably a month's time to get to where we wanted to be. So start from what has already been built and just innovate on top of it. That's what.
Great, and that's how you bring business disruption.
Yes.
Because it's all about disruption today, and if you will not do it, then your competitor will disrupt the business. So Gurpreet, again, you know, what best practices would you suggest to build a healthy IT strategy for any nascent organization? Because we've seen that during the pandemic, you know, the startups who usually lack the cash reserves and the structure of larger businesses, they face challenges and they had to reconsider their business model. So any best practices, key takeaways from your side that you would like to suggest to nascent organizations?
Yeah, I would say even more than the pandemic, I think this year that we've had really put a lot of stress on every startup, in fact, for that matter, and funding has dried up, and there are genuine challenges that startups are facing on a day-by-day basis, right? I was recently talking to a CTO friend of mine who is the CTO for a fintech lending firm, and he gave me a very interesting perspective on cost optimization. He said whenever he chooses a workload to be put in cloud or a product to use in cloud, he looks at the cost in a very different way. Rather than looking at what is the capacity, what is the sizing, what is the discount I can get, he looks at how much salary am I paying to some of my top resources, and if the product is buggy and it doesn't work out for me, how many hours would they spend on it, fixing it, try and find a solution, try and find a workaround, how much does it delay my release, and that is how he calculates the cost. So I think that is a very unique perspective, and that is what should be used. Normally when we talk about cost, especially for early startups, the conversation is always discounts, the conversation is always credits, sustained usage, all of that. I think cost needs to be looked at from a more strategic angle. Where are you investing your money? What is the best use of your resources, your skills? And look at products. For example, if I take an example of something like a BigQuery that has performance optimization built in, right? So you are not manually looking for cost reduction. You're not looking at downsizing, upsizing. That fully managed service is able to do it for you. So almost like 30% over 3 years. So those are some of the areas to look at.
Yeah, great. So like what you said, you need to look at cost optimization in a more strategic manner, and that's a great advice. Ankit, I want to give you the last word then. What, according to you, is the biggest challenge for digital natives at the moment, and what critical changes should they make to face the future more effectively? Because it's all about, today we are solving the business challenge. So what is one big business challenge that you see?
So I'll again like to take a detour because now I'm doing that. So thank you for the audience who've been listening very patiently to a panel. The problem with tech panels is that we tend to agree with each other on the stage. So it is kind of less entertaining. And I noticed this when I met Shipra for the first panel that we did. Politicians tend to disagree with each other on the stage. They make very interesting viewing, but they all agree in the backside. Okay, techies will all agree on the front side, but घर जाते Java, Python, R पे झगड़ा करने लगते हैं. So I've always, I thank you for listening in patiently. Now coming back to the, I mean, I don't think I have the magical answer there, but yes, what we know is that golden time that India perhaps has been able to arrive at magically, not in terms of the physical infrastructure, which is clearly a problem, but the digital infrastructure seems to have just come together. And I can go on, but I think everybody knows we are talking about the Bharat stack, the tech talent, the opportunity, the everything. Now, this for us, I think, is that golden age. And I don't think that there are challenges that we are not able to solve, at least on the digital side. But yes, I think if we can get the human capital right, then yes, our dear Prime Minister's vision can come true. That's all. Thank you.
I think it's about the human capital, the digital ecosystem, everything coming together, and I think that moment is the ripe moment for everything to come together to solve the startup challenge that we have. So thank you, everyone. I know we kind of missed the 45-minute deadline, but I hope the conversation was useful and you were able to drive some key insights from this conversation. Thank you so much to all my panelists, and I hope we continue having this conversation off stage as well. And feel free to interact with our panelists, with Ankit and Gurpreet, and get to understand from their experiences as well on how to solve better and how to solve differently. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I would like to thank all of you once again. Over to you, Ankit.
I'll not take more than 1 minute. First of all, to the Economic Times team for bringing in such an elite group of people together, thank you so much. Really love and respect the job that we did today. I do think that the real engaging session does start right now, when people can really mix. So please definitely make friends. We now know from experience that meeting people in person is a privilege, should not be taken for granted. And we would definitely like to ensure that all of us are building those relationships here. A lot of the serendipity conversations that happen here will go a long way. So thank you for spending your Friday evening with us. And thank you so much for joining in. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ankit. Like you mentioned, let's not stop here. Let's get the conversations moving offline now over cocktails and dinner. So thank you so much. Have a great weekend ahead.